Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cron Talk podcast. This episode is very special for a number of reasons. The first one is it's very special to me, and the second one it's very special to the whole industry. So, the person that will come today and will talk on the podcast is none other than Dumitru Prunariu, the first ever Romanian cosmonaut. For starters, cosmonaut is a astronaut that flew with Soyuz aircraft or Russian aircraft because space is cosmos and in Russian, so you understand. And astronaut is the American term basically. It's the now European and American person that flies to space. You get it. The second thing, we're not gonna need these microphones because we're using it on the camera because it's very good, great, and can isolate every problem. So you're not gonna see them in this interview. So without further ado, welcome Dumitru Prunariu. This is Dumitru Prunariu, the first Romanian astronaut, or how he was called back then, cosmonaut, because he was part of the Soviet space program. I'm gonna let him talk about it. Can you please tell us a few words about how did you get to be an astronaut? What was the process before? So when you finished high school and when you became an astronaut and went to space?
Yeah, okay. There is an interesting story. Actually, all my life I wanted to fly. But I thought for Romania it's possible to fly only in the atmosphere, only with airplanes. And after graduating the airspace engineering faculty in Bucharest, I went for my mandatory military service to Baku. And then the commander of the unit proposed us to become candidates for cosmonauts. Because then I found out that Romania is part of an international program named Intercosmos. And after many probes sent to the outer space for diverse scientific experiments, Romania is able to prepare a cosmonaut to accomplish it to the outer space, much more complex experiments than in the automatical way. So then I raised a hand, I took part in the selection, and look, I'm here as the first Romanian cosmonaut.
Thank you very much. What was your main job in space? What were your tasks on the 7-day trip you were in space?
Yeah. Actually, my main task was to accomplish a lot of experiments on behalf of Romania, of Romanian institutions, research institutes in different fields of activity. I did experiments in the field of astrophysics, medicine, biology, technology, space technology. And actually, there were 15 experiments purely Romanian, and accomplished also together with my colleagues, my Russian colleagues, some other experiments, international experiments proposed by the cooperation between different countries.
Super cool. So, what was your favorite part of the rocket in an engineering standpoint? So the boosters, the separations, or the whole cockpit?
It's a very difficult question. Actually, as an airspace engineer, I learned how to design flying objects. Flying objects mean airplanes and rockets. So the aerodynamic part of the rocket, it's a very interesting topic for me. The mechanical part of the rocket, the orientation devices are also very interesting for me. I can't say less the engine, because the engine is the main heart of the rocket, but actually I was much more focused on the construction itself.
Thank you. What were the differences between gravity on Earth and living in outer space? Everything from the air you're breathing to the way you felt, the way you slept?
You understand there are many differences between living on Earth in the Earth gravity and living in weightlessness. Living in weightlessness, it's a little bit difficult, especially in the first days of weightlessness, because there are a lot of transformation in the human body, taking into account the lack of gravity. So the blood is pumped higher to the upper body. It causes some problems. The orientation, the vestibular apparatus, it's much perturbed into the outer space, and you don't have the feeling where it's up, down, how to orient inside of the space station mainly. There are some other modifications in the muscles, in the bones, but if the flight is short, like my flights, they don't cause big problems when you return to the Earth. So after returning to the Earth, I had some inverse consequences in the presence of the gravity, but they passed a few days.
Cool. So, besides everything in space, how was your training in Moscow or the space city? Where did you have your training done to become an astronaut?
Yes, I was trained in Star City, the city where are trained all cosmonauts and astronauts flying with the Russian spacecrafts. Actually, my official status in Star City was Romanian officer in a foreign mission. Because we depended mainly on the Romanian embassy, on the military attaché office in Moscow, because both of us, I and my future backup then, were military persons. I became an officer just before going to Russia for my training. Our status in Star City was purely technical, and we became friends with all people there. Everybody was focused in training astronauts, training cosmonauts for flying into space, starting with the administrative things to the main training equipment, devices, with teaching us. There were a lot of teachers, professors for different specialties. It was a little bit difficult till I learned Russian, because everything was in Russian. But I had the chance to have a very good teacher, a lady. And in about half a year, I could say that I could manage to deal with any conversation from professional point of view. Everything was fine. Even now, if you look what happened in the world, the Russians and the Americans fly together to the International Space Station this time. The investigation into space, and especially in space station, could be considered the most expensive international project done till now. And take into account the investigation in this space station, so the war in Ukraine doesn't affect anyhow in any way the space flights together. The Americans are trained together with the Russians in Star City. The Russians are trained with the Americans in Houston. And they fly together on Elon Musk's spacecrafts or on Soyuz spacecrafts.
Can you please explain, as the last question, because your time is very valuable,
okay, sure.
Can you explain the landing procedure and from the undocking procedure from the space station to the landing, and what went wrong and what went right?
Sure, you know something, and maybe this is the reason you put me this question. So, living in the space station, it's time to come down, to land on the Earth. So the crew went to the spacecraft, closed the hatches, then undocked from the space station. Of course, you are dressed in your spacesuit, which is the main protection in the case of dehermetization of the module. And it happens very, very rarely, but could happen. So you should be protected. After undocking, our mission was to take pictures of the space station from outside. So the commander, Leonid Popov, turned the spacecraft around the space station, and I did a lot of photographs with a camera Practica we used then, with an objective of 135 millimeters. And these pictures show to the people, to the constructor of the space station down on the Earth, what is the level of degradation of the space station after several years of functioning into the outer space. So after that, we oriented the spacecraft with the main engine in front of the spacecraft. Turn on the engine. It was a very specific time to turn it on, and a very specific time of the length of the functioning of the engine. It was transmitted to us from the Earth. And then the orbit of our spacecraft transformed in a ballistical orbit, reaching the atmosphere in a specific point. So we reached the atmosphere with an angle of 1-2 degrees, no more. In the area of the southern Atlantic. And step by step, we started to feel the gravity. So the acceleration, deceleration mainly because we decelerate, but we stay with the back to the direction of the movement of the spacecraft. And step by step, we felt it hardly. I had a look in the window next to my shoulder, and I see first some flames, purple flames, red, purple, and then the window just became dark from the burning process. Of course, we supported for about 15 minutes this deceleration. And then at an altitude of about 12 kilometers, the parachute should start to open. Of course, we had some small problems. The parachute should be open at 12,600 meters, more precisely, but our parachute opened at about 7,500. So those seconds between the right time and the real opening cause a lot of emotions, not only for us, but also for the supervisors from the control center down to Earth. But finally, after so big emotions, the parachute opened and we came down to the Earth. The landing itself was not so soft that it was previewed, because we had wind during the landing and the wind just balanced the capsule. And then engines turned on when the parachute was on the side and just hit the module on the ground. But we are happy that we are on the ground.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Welcome.
Thanks again to Dumitru Prunariu, the first ever Romanian cosmonaut, or astronaut, whatever. As you can see, for some detail, I was not in my Chromebot t-shirt today because this wasn't planned at all. Every year we have a celebration for Christmas in our high school. And I usually am the guy who stays at the sound, the technical guy with microphone, sound and stuff. And this year, Dumitru Prunariu came because he finished this high school, the very same high school we are at now, more than 40 years ago. He finished in 72, and he was an astronaut, cosmonaut. He flew in 81. So yeah, you heard that earlier. Anyway, this was a great opportunity to have some in-depth things into aerospatial engineering and space as a whole. It was really great having him on, and I hope you like it. See you next time.